Hey everybody, Bearded Rogue here, and today I want to talk to you about a game called Inbetween. I love the artwork. So this game is basically Stranger Things, the board game. It is a two-player only game, and one player plays the town, as pictured by this wonderful picturesque artwork, and the other plays the creature, as imagined in this wonderfully stylized demonic hellscape artwork. So it's it does not have the Stranger Things license, but it's very clear that it is at least somewhat inspired by that sort of media, where there is this picturesque, fun, happy little town that people are going about their lives in. And then there's this dark dimension that's kind of intruding on that world and trying to destroy it. So, inside the game, one person plays the town, one person plays the creature. And each player has their own deck. It is asymmetric. So, like, the town deck, which, let me get the reference cards out of the way, is, of course, has the wonderful picturesque town on the back. And inside of this, they have all sorts of cards that let them do various things to fight the creature. They also have something unique to their deck, are these equipment cards, which are basically you pay for them and then they stay in play and give you a passive ability or a triggerable ability over time. Pardon me. The creature, on the other hand, has a deck that, of course, has the hellscape here on the back, and it has a lot fewer different effects, I guess you would say, in it. It repeats the same effects multiple times, but its effects are really nasty, and tend to be a little bit cheaper to play than the towns. But the way this game works, it's actually much simpler than I initially thought it would be. The rulebook is extremely well done, and there's only a couple of things that we got slightly wrong in our playthrough, but I mean slightly wrong. The rules seem more complicated than they are. But the rulebook did a really good job of clearing things up. The turn structure cards are good, but they aren't, like, the be-all, end-all. Reading the rulebook or having both players read the rulebook is a really good idea. It's also got really good references inside the rulebook in case you have any questions about any of the specific stuff that happens. But basically, the first thing you do is you take these character cards, and you only use 10 of them. And there are many more than 10 of them in the game. So each game is going to be slightly different. But you take 10 of these characters, and you put them in a circle in the middle of the table. And then you alternate the characters. So you'll have each character has a side in the town, and a side that is for the creature. And so basically you are fighting over these characters as one of the aspects of the game. One of the ways that you're playing the game is you're fighting over these characters. And one of the and we'll get into the win conditions in a minute, but basically the way that each round works, and I want to find a card with a specific. Give me just a second. I should have prepped all of this ahead of time, but I'm always terrible about that. Here we go. Perfect. So, on your turn, you do a couple of things. The rounds are really, really quick once you understand how they go. The first thing is you have the awareness phase. We'll cover awareness in just a second. Most of the time, it's not going to do anything. You can only use your awareness ability once per game, so it's not relevant very often. Only twice per game is the awareness phase actually going to have something happen in it. Then you have the action phase. So in the action phase, you can do basically three things. The first thing you can do is you can prepare. So you discard a number of cards from your hand. You'll have a hand of cards. You discard any number of cards from your hand, and then you draw back up to 5. So you'll end with 5 cards. That's one thing you can do. The second thing you can do is rest. Resting is how you get energy, and energy is how you pay for your abilities. So when you rest, you gain energy equal to the number of the character cards in the circle that are on your side, in your dimension. So you count up everybody on the white side for the town and everybody on this black side for the creature. And that's how much energy you would receive for the side that you are playing. So that's those two. The final thing you can do is playing cards. So when you play cards, each card has a couple of different pieces. And I'll show you a creature card here in just a minute as well, so that you can kind of see a bit of the difference. But basically, when you play one of these cards, you can do a couple of different things. The glare is really bad. So the first thing you will do is you can use this symbol here to do one of two things. To either take this character and pull them further into your dimension, or you can use it to place a token for that symbol. And I can't actually do it with this character because they already have this symbol on them. Let me get a different character. Or you can take a token that has a symbol and put it on a character that doesn't already have that symbol. So right now this character normally just has the badge. Now they have the badge and the grasping hands. This character has the grasping hands, so you can't put a grasping hand token on them. They can only have each symbol a maximum of once. So why would you want to do that? Well, putting an additional symbol on the character is good because it means that more of your cards can be used to pull them further into your dimension. That's a good thing. One of the ways that you can win is by having 3 characters completely in your dimension. In the case of the human player or the town player, you're trying to have 3 of them secured. In the case of the creature player, you're trying to have 3 of them devoured. So, the way that works is basically, if I had this character, and I played this card, it has the little clasped hands, as does this, I can choose to take this character and make them more secure. So all of the characters start in between, which means that they're in a dimension, in this case the town dimension, but they don't have a token on them of any variety. Once I play this card, I can take one of these cubes here, the safety state cubes, and I put it on the top thing here, which this top one is called Alert, and then Guarded, and then Secure. So I put it on here, and now this character is basically in the dimension, in the town dimension, and safe. It would be harder for the creature to pull them into the creature dimension at this point. If I were to play another card with one of these later on, this would move down, and now the character would be guarded. And guarded is good because guarded lets this ability go off, and we'll get into that in a second. And eventually we want to get it all the way down to secured, and if the town player can get 3 characters down to secured, then that's one of the ways that they can win the game. Now, this character also has these claw marks, so if the creature played a card with the claw marks on it, they could, if this didn't already have claw marks, put a token on it with claw marks, or, because these match, they can move this token 1 space closer towards the creature side. So think of this as a big connected scale, with secured, the best possible scenario for the town on one side, then guarded, alert, then in between. Then, if it's on the town side and you play, and the creature were to play this symbol, it would flip them over to the creature side of the card. And then again, as more are played, the character would go from nervous to terrified to devoured. And the creature wins if 3 of the characters end up on their devoured, end up with these little things on devoured. That will also mark them as basically 1/3 of the way to a victory condition. So getting 3 characters in your dimension to the bottom of their track is one of the ways you win the game. Of course, you're competing over this. The characters are all in a circle, and you have this wonderful little turn marker here, which is one of the most clever ideas I've seen for marking turns in a game. And it's double-sided. It's got blue on one side, red on the other. Red is always the creature, blue is always the town. And as this moves around the circle, it flips from one side to another to indicate whose turn it is. One of the things that's really cool is the person whose turn it is obviously gets to play their cards and take the rest of their turn. Play their cards, rest, or prepare. We'll get into the rest of playing a card in just a second. But if a character is in the second, third, or fourth spot, if they have one of those cubes in the second, third, or fourth spot, then at the end of the turn, this ability will activate. For the character whose turn it is. So even though this would be a creature's turn with the red, this character, if it had the purple cube on one of the lower spots, the blue player, the town player, would gain this ability, and it would get to do whatever this one says. In this case, the town may play a card, but cannot activate its ability. So that would happen at the end of that turn. And those are really, really powerful and game-swaying effects. So you kind of want to start pushing for that victory condition, getting people into that kind of a state. One of the other things, that's the activity phase. One of the other things is if the character's in between, nothing happens. The player whose dimension the character is in may increase their personal awareness level. So one of the other ways you can win the game is by getting your awareness level to 6. So at the end of every turn, you look at where the marker is, which character the marker is on. And if that character is actually not in between, meaning they have a token on them, then the player, in this case the town, the player who controls that character can pay energy to raise their awareness level. One of the ways you can win is getting your awareness all the way to the bottom. So those are the 2 primary ways that you'll win. There's one other one I'll talk about at the end, but let's go all the way back to playing a card. So when you play a card, you can use this symbol, as I said, to influence characters in the circle, raise or lower their safety level, to either bring them closer to you, to always bring them closer to your dimensional side, but either to pull them out of your opponent's side or to further secure them on your side. Or you can put a token on them to make it easier to play cards that affect them later on in the game. So you play the card and you will always do that. You will either use this token to move a purple marker up or down on a character card, or to place a token on a character card. Then you may optionally pay energy to activate the bottom piece of this card. So this is the energy cost, and then this is the ability that you activate. Most of them also have some flavor text on them. So if I was the town and I was on this, I was playing my turn, I could play this card and use it to put a purple cube on the alert space of this card. And then I could pay 4 energy to trigger this, which says choose a character card that's adjacent to a secured character and remove it from the game. And it's cool that I picked this one, because remove it from the game is one of the other end conditions. Because the circle starts with 10 people in it, if there are ever 5 people in the circle, because various things can remove the characters from the game, if there are ever 5 people in a circle, then you immediately check to see how many of them are in the creature realm versus how many of them are in the town realm, and whoever has the most wins. That's the third way. So you can either win by securing or devouring 3 people, by getting your awareness to level 6, or by getting the circle down to 5 characters and then having the majority of those characters in your dimension. Those are the 3 ways that you can win. But The place where we were getting confused is during the action phase. So the awareness phase is really easy. As you go up in awareness, you can use your awareness as a one-time ability. So you have this awareness track, and you slowly work your way up. At 0, you can't do anything. At 1, you gain the access to this ability. At 2, you can either use this ability or this ability. At 3, you can use this ability, or this ability. But you can only do that once per game. So as you get higher on the awareness track, you unlock more different abilities that you can choose, but you can still only do that once. So if I got all the way down to level 4 and hadn't used my awareness ability, I would have access to all of these different abilities, but I could only use it the one time in the game. And these are pretty powerful abilities that change the state of the game. And they, of course, get more powerful as they get lower on the track. But you have your awareness phase, wherein you can use your awareness ability. Then your action phase, where you either play a card, discard cards to draw cards, or discard cards and draw cards, or gain energy. Then you have the activity phase, where you look at the character card that has the marker on it, and if it's in your realm, you can choose to pay energy to raise your awareness. And then you get the ability on the character card if it is in one of the bottom 3 tracks. So if it's in one of the bottom 3 tracks, you gain access to the character ability that you get to use. Then the movement phase, you just take the token and move it to the next card and flip it over so it's clear who the next player is. Clear as mud. It's a little hard to tell you without having it actually set up on a table and you being able to see it, but it's a little asymmetric 2-player game, and it really evokes Stranger Things in a lot of ways. The character cards are, the town cards are more expensive. They have various pieces of equipment like walkie-talkies and coupons and pistols and things of that nature that they can have in play. That help them. A lot of their things are risky. They mean that the town player has to give up something in order to get something back, which is pretty cool. The town player can't just kind of sit back and coast. That said, the creature player can't either. The creature player's cards are more impactful, I would say, and they cost a little bit less overall, but they're very the abilities are pretty common. Like each card in the creature deck appears 3 times, I believe. It's an exactly even distribution of 3 appearances of each card. So once you've experienced it, the creature's abilities are known. As they're a more known quantity. They're less varied than the town player. But they make up for it by being pretty brutal in the way that they occur. So both sides play differently. I don't know that either of them have a specific advantage for any of the particular win conditions. I know that I played as the town and got wrecked pretty hard. I say that, but I had 2 characters that were secured all the way at the bottom. Unfortunately, they were the only 2 characters that were in my dimension when the creature got its awareness track all the way down to 6. So I don't know if I was all that close to winning. I would have had to flip someone and then advance them really quickly up the track. So I don't know if I had a hope of catching up there, but there were 2 rules that we played wrong in the course of the game. One is that as the town player, I didn't realize that I could have 3 pieces of equipment out at once. I thought it was only 1, and then it had to replace itself. It's actually 3. So that's something that I missed just in reading the rules. I knew that the equipment stayed in play, but I didn't realize that you could have more than 1. I thought that they were exclusive to each other. But having 3 equipment cards in play makes them a lot more powerful because you aren't switching strategies as much. A lot of them kind of push you in a particular direction, or give you abilities that trigger, like the walkie-talkie that I showed earlier. Specifically, during the activity phase, you cancel a character card ability. And that's very, very powerful because the abilities on the character cards are some of the most powerful ones in the game, because it takes a long time to set it up. They give you extra plays of cards, among other things. Let you change the direction the turn marker goes, and all sorts of other... let you draw cards, let you gain energy. Very powerful abilities that change the course of the game. So being able to cancel that for a turn could make all the difference in the world, but it's a one-time use cancel. Once you use it, it's out of the game. And so, having to choose between it or some of the other tools, like, for example, the coupon. Whenever you play a card with the little store icon on it, you get to draw a card, and there are a lot of cards with the little store icon on them. When I started the game, I actually had 3 cards that had the store icon, so I put that into play and then proceeded to continually refill my hand and not have to use the prepare action to draw more cards, which is really cool to not have to spend a turn doing that. Any turn where you can be playing cards is to your benefit, because you're only going to get so many actions during the course of the game. All of the endgame triggers come pretty quickly, and so you kind of have to make the most of your particular opportunities to play effects. But being able to have 3 of those in play would have been really, really cool and really, really good. The other one that we kind of missed as far as things go is the flipping characters from one side to the other is kind of a middle state. Like, a character with no token on it is said to be in between. So, like, this flips to this, then you can put a cube. It's not... this has no cube on it, so when I'm the creature and I flip it, I immediately put a cube on it. So there's an extra state in there of flipping from one side to another. I don't think it would have changed that much over the course of the game because we were consistent across the whole thing. I think it may have sped the game up just a little bit, which is fine. The whole game, including Teach, played in less than an hour. The Teach was a little bit rougher than I thought it would be initially for a game that was this small, but once we started playing it, it was like, oh, why was this ever that hard? And again, as I said, the rulebook was really good, and the references inside the rulebook are fantastic. Like, on the back lists every character card in the game. You're only going to be using 10 of those, so they're the thing you're going to become familiar with the slowest, I would say. But inside the actual rulebook, they have a section on town cards and creature cards and clarifications, just in case you need some additional info on how they work. Really solid game, amazing looking artwork, really solid implementation of the Stranger Things theme, even though they aren't an officially licensed Stranger Things product. I really recommend this one. If you are looking for a 2-player game that's a little bit different and interesting, I recommend this one. It's a good one. I had a lot of fun with it, and I can't wait to dig in a little more and start getting more familiar with the individual decks or some of the characters or some of the strategies involved, rather than just being able to kind of be surprised by it and play it tactically. I think it's going to be really cool that way, and I really look forward to that. So that's Inbetween, with this amazing box cover right here. I recommend it if you're looking for a 2-player game that plays in less than an hour. 20 to 40 minutes, I think, if you already know how to play. But yeah, cool game. So that's it for today. I'm going to let you guys go, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.